Spain, and then very much a stadium circuit, and we come to Valencia fairly frequently, and I'm jolly glad we do because I really like it. Monza, Misano, Hockenheim, Brno, they're done and dusted. Here we are then, Valencia, ahead of Barcelona, our dual trip to Spain, if you like, then Spa-Francorchamps and Mugello to round out the 2025 season. Flaming June, flaming gone, the season has. Away in a flash, it would appear. And we've had some awesome racing during the course of the year. Track temperature is currently 36 degrees. The air temperature currently 26 degrees. I have to say, for our Shell Am drivers that will be taken to the track for their qualifying, they're going to get the coolest conditions of the day, I would suggest. I don't know whether that's advantageous or disadvantageous, but I have to say, having experienced the heat here yesterday, being inside the 296 Challenge car, where, incidentally, the AC does work, jolly glad, I would have thought, to have the benefit of that and the benefit of the slightly cooler temperatures this morning. Paolo Scudieri, Boris Gideon, Andreas Koenig, Henrik Kamstrup, Shintaro Akatsu, Charles Chan, Pino Frascaro, Alvaro Ramos will be joined by Fritz Muller, Germana Toniella, Sven Schirmer, Jan Sandman, and Alexei Komarov out there for 30 minutes. And alongside me for 30 minutes, if not a tad longer, is Nico Spalek. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome from Valencia. And yeah, you said it. The weather is certainly something. As we take a look here at the circuit layout, it's a counterclockwise configuration. Lots of twists and turns with only one real long straight. Ricardo Tormo, obviously famous motorcycle racer from Spain, and it kind of reflects in the layout of the circuit, very much also used for two-wheel racing, and but also offers some great technical challenges for our drivers in the 296 Challenge cars, including Paolo Scudieri.
Yes, Ricardo Tormo, two-time world motorcycle champion racer, of course, the track named after him, and big thumbs up from Paolo Scudieri then. The track is 14 turns, 9 left, 5 right. It's exactly 4 kilometers as Pino Frascaro for Rosso Corsa Racing is about to take to the track. You can see him with sunglasses on, ready to get out there and experience the circuit that was built back in 1999 and has been used for Formula One testing, Nico.
Absolutely. Valencia obviously famously also had a Formula One circuit in the city, in the harbour area.
Yes. Morning, Boris.
Boris Gideon getting ready for his work. I think, as we're about 1 minute away from the beginning of this session, I think the heat will be a factor already in qualifying, and I rather think the drivers may err on the side of doing one fewer lap rather than one more lap in the car, if they can get away with it, simply because it's just the qualifying and the race is going to take so much out of them in these conditions where it's 35 degrees is the forecast for the afternoon.
Whoa.
Add the fireproof clothing that is required, add the temperature inside the car, and I don't care how good the AC in the 296 can be, it's going to be warm in there.
Yes, Henrik Kamstrup in the final stages of preparation before getting qualifying underway. Then the Formula Racing driver. Henrik's sons are here this weekend as well, and they've been working on a simulator that's situated in our hospitality, and here we can see the 115 car of Shintaro Akatsu, always enthused, and you can see the window wiping motion he was doing there with his hands as he says hello to us all. Shintaro's a lovely, lovely man. The familiar colors, and I like the way that the race suit and the car combo colors work for Sven Schirmer. Sven Schirmer, of course, in a very good position in the Copa Shell Am Drivers' Championship. And he'll be hoping to maintain that good position over the course of this weekend. Ferrari Challenge stretches far and wide, Nico, around the world as Stefano Guy, who knows a thing or two about winning in a Ferrari, looks on. We're also racing this weekend in Indianapolis with the Ferrari Challenge North America and, of course, Ferrari Challenge Australasia as well, and Japan and the UK, and just to give you the whole gamut, if you will, of the geographical reach of this wonderful one-make series. So the crash helmet going on for Germano Toniello, who will be out on track shortly, driving for the Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram team.
Yeah, and talking about Australasia, that race in Sydney, race 1, has just wrapped up about half an hour ago. So there is going to be another one similar time tomorrow, if you want to check that out on the Ferrari YouTube channel, and that can feed directly into our qualifying sessions tomorrow.
Fantastic.
So lots of racing around the world, as you say, Australasia, Japan, North America, the UK, and here in Europe, where once again we take a tour of the southern parts of Europe over summer.
Yes.
Which offers some great mini break opportunities, not necessarily for our drivers.
Or us.
But obviously family is a big part of the Ferrari challenge, and
if only.
But as we
foot it from Brands Hatch, by bicycle.
Oh, sorry about that.
In fact, yesterday, sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I was doing a piece to camera yesterday for our another production piece, and from here to our next circuit, which of course is the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, it's just shy of 400 kilometers and just shy of 89 hours if you walked non-stop.
Okay, challenge accepted.
It's some sort of stupid thing you would do. Not me. Oh no, I'll take a bus,
3 weeks. If I didn't have any commitments in between, 3 weeks would be okay. But no, we'll have other racing engagements between there and then, as we said, Ferrari Challenge around the world. But as you say, 3 weeks from now, if you have nothing planned for the weekend in 3 weeks, come to Barcelona. It's a fantastic circuit. It's a fantastic paddock, and there is, I hear, a fairly decent city fairly close to the racetrack.
Which I have to say, I must say, you're right, Barcelona is just a wonderful place. I also said in said production piece yesterday that, if Valencia as a city is not on your city break bucket list, it should be. Because I think it affords wonderful. I mean, we've come here countless times. In fact, a couple of years ago, probably the last time, I'm just trying to think back, we've had our glittering Finale Mondiale event here in Valencia as well. And I just think the city is a really, really nice, welcoming city that offers a lot as a city break destination. That's my bit done for the tourism department of Valencia.
Invoice coming up.
Absolutely.
As Alvaro Ramos is one of the drivers getting ready, and I mean, getting ready, we're 4 minutes into qualifying, and Alvaro Ramos might just be the first driver out of the pit lane, because thus far every single driver is still in pit lane, and the fans in eager anticipation as Alvaro Ramos will take P1 on the track in a few moments' time as he slowly exits the pit lane and enters the track. We are officially green and go for this qualifying session as Alvaro Ramos doesn't cross the white line, which is fairly important. And especially race control and the stewards will take a firm look at track limits, which I'm afraid is going to be a topic we'll be talking more than we would like.
Turn 1 here in Valencia. It almost encourages you to exceed the track limits. And I think when it comes to race time, that I think it'll be excused on lap 1. But from there on in, yes, I think you're wise to mention the fact that the track limits topic may be one of hot discussion over the course of this weekend. So it's Pino Frascaro that we are watching right now. Pino is having a good season, Nico. Has been on the podium, has threatened further podiums, as Henrik Hamstrup now is about to leave the garage in the electric blue-coloured 113 car. They're into the garage of our Portuguese driver, Alvaro Ramos. So it's not been a huge commute for Alvaro here to the Valencia circuit. And then Alvaro, I think, into his second season of the Ferrari Challenge, if memory serves me correctly. A terribly, terribly nice man, I have to say. And we were treated like royalty when we visited Portimao, of course, which is his home circuit. There is Paolo Scudieri then in the 101 car. Paolo is another driver that, you know, if you were going to suggest some that could be towards the sharp end of the results over the course of both qualifying and the race, well, certainly Paolo would be one of those. Pino as well, as we watch him now. Let's go on board the Rosso Corsa pit wall. The drivers are out there pedaling the cars, but the engineers and teams are monitoring everything from their vantage point on the pit wall. As Charles Chan then gets prepared and gets comfortable inside that 296 challenge car, ready to get out for the 30-minute qualifying, of which 6.5 minutes of it is done, dusted already, and we don't see a meaningful time yet on the timing screen. Is that something I'm concerned about? Truthfully, not at the moment. I do think drivers will be wise potentially to bank a lap, because even in these absolutely bone-dry conditions, you don't know what could happen. And, you know, I always feel as an insurance policy, Nico, it's worthy of having one in the book, as it were.
Absolutely. And one thing that if you look left and right of the strip of tarmac that you can see, there is a lot of gray, and that always means gravel bad. And there are some circuits...
there are some politicians, I could say, are very grey as well, Nico. Dull.
Fair point. But there are some circuits where you have a lot of tarmac runoff area, which, you know, means that if some driver makes a mistake in qualifying, they can rejoin, and the session doesn't necessarily get truncated. Here, once a car is in the gravel, that may very easily lead to a red flag, and that's always something that the drivers and the teams are aware of and have to factor into their calculation when it comes to strategy.
I agree. Really impressive during the free practice sessions on the days leading up to this, and the test session as well, has been the driver of the 199 car, who drives the Scuderia Prague Racing. It's Alexei Komarov, Nico. I have to say, I love the colour spectacle that adorns his car. Alexei Komarov may well be one to watch in qualifying. Right, at last, we get a time on the timing screen. It's a 1:45.088, which is not a time that is worth really writing home about. However, this one, as Alvaro has got everything up to temperature now, is the one that we run the clock on to see what he can do. The Santagol driver, Alvaro Ramos then. Pino Frascaro has also put a time on the clock as well. It's a 1:39.420. We're expecting times in the mid-130s, I would suggest. And Alvaro Ramos is certainly in a position where he is bettering his previous set time of that. We had no doubt whatsoever. So he continues up his way. I really love the stadium aspect of the Valencia circuit. Wherever you are within the circuit, you get a very, very good vantage point. It's almost like it was built in a bowl, really, to support those that want to come and enjoy our wonderful, wonderful sport, and be able to see each and every of the 14 turns. So, as you can see, Alvaro has already taken just shy of 2 seconds out of his previous time, which I'm not surprised by at all. Pino Frascaro currently at the top of the chart with a 1:39, but expect this to be better. Hard braking now for the left-hander for Alvaro Ramos. He just kisses the turn apex on the outer curb on the way out, so it's not the apex at all. And here comes the time that is much more meaningful, I would suggest, a 1:36.959. Our speed camera brought to you in association with Faye. Indicative of just how quick the cars go down the start-finish straight here. Not only are they quick down the straight, they are running downhill as well, Nico, into turn one, the left-hander, which you arrive there at a huge speed and try and scrub that speed off and make sure you try and keep the car within the white lines as you make your way around that turn.
Absolutely, as we see the first little bit of traffic as Pino Frascaro encounters another car through turn one, but I don't think it hampered him too much as he's now coming into that infield section, that very twisty part. Just to give you some reference on the times, obviously last time we were here with the 488 Challenge Evo, and final year as the premier car in the championship. Pole time in the AMS was a 1:37.734 by Boris Gideon.
Yes.
So that's the benchmark, but obviously we know that the 296 is more than a couple of seconds quicker on any given circuit.
Yes.
Maybe save the Norris ring. That's too short to gain 2 seconds, but otherwise you can effectively subtract at least 2 seconds of any given circuit. So we expect this car to be much quicker around here, and the pole time in the Amps maybe around 1:35 is certainly realistic.
Achievable, isn't it? I kind of pitched mid 1:35s, I reckon is about where we'll see it. But let's see. Pino Frascaro. I can see from, there is Mrs. Pino. Very good morning. Pino's wife, who is constantly of support to him in so many ways, and constantly in support of our burgeoning waistline as well, with the beautiful Swiss chocolate that she seems to adorn us with whenever we see her. So thank you, Mrs. Pino and Mr. Pino. As Pino now will go to P1 potentially. No, because he was 8.5 tenths down. As that speed camera, once again, we can watch as the cars run down and get ever so close to the wall.
Yeah, I think the traffic that we saw in turn 1 may have hampered him more than we initially thought. That was
Perhaps
the sector
so.
that wasn't the personal best. So just putting his foot off the gas a little bit early and taking a different trajectory, as we can see from one of our cameras that Sven Schirmer, our championship leader, is filing out of pit lane, as the track is now ever more busy with 11 and now 12 of 13 cars on their outlap or out on the track.
And just 12 minutes left as we watch Jan Sandman now as he crosses the timing line. Jan Sandman, and there is Andreas Koenig. Distinctive livery across the Andreas Koenig car then, driver of 104, who was hero and zero, I think is fair to say, in Brno in the Czech Republic, Nico. And Andreas again is having a season of remarkable highs and plumbing the depths of lows as well. It's a real turbulent roller coaster for him, if I can use yet as many metaphors into that sentence as possible.
Yeah, I mean, Andreas Koenig, it's been, the pace has always been there. The rub of the green hasn't always been, and he will be the first to admit that on a few occasions it was his own, he was of his own undoing. Losing race leads and dropping down the order, but he's always recovered in remarkable fashion, and we expect nothing else as Pino Frascaro now indeed leaps to P1 with no traffic hindering him, as Andreas Koenig is on his way to setting a first personal best time, if nothing else.
I'm just looking at Andrea Gagliardini, who is Sven Schirmer's driver coach from another feed that we have into our studio, with his remarkable sunglasses that would light up any pit garage, I have to say. And he's talking to Sven Schirmer as we speak. You know, Sven Schirmer is out there on track. So Andrea Gagliardini then with, Trofeo Pirelli coloured glasses. Copichel coloured glasses, actually. Copichel AM cars are the ones that we are watching as Andreas Koenig goes third fastest. It's Pino Frascaro, then it's Alvaro Ramos, then it's Andreas Koenig, Jan Sandman, Boris Gideon, Shintaro Akatsu, Henrik Kamstrup, just ahead of Shintaro now. Then it's Paolo Scudieri and Alexei Komarov as Sven Schirmer goes. And Paolo Scudieri gives us a 1:36.216, taking 3/100ths out of Pino Frascaro's time to go P1. Momentarily, I would suggest.
Yeah, we have lots of personal bests and quite a few purple sector times, one coming from Jan Sandman, but Paolo Scudieri, definitely a very, very good lap. I think his next attempt that he was trying to get on was somewhat compromised by the Sven Schirmer car in front of him, but
maybe
that time certainly stuck. And the 103 car that we are now watching is that of Boris Gideon. First sector personal best, second sector overall best, indicated by the purple color. Now the traffic in front of him as he's in the final turn, I don't think it will affect his lap, and that means full throttle down, maybe even a little bit of slipstream as P7 turns into P1 with 7/10ths quicker, 1:35.499, so the 1:35 mid, which you predicted.
It's almost exact, isn't it? But Boris Gideon then P1. Here comes Jan Sandman, though. He's hoping to be able to wrestle that away from Boris Gideon. Jan Sandman, the Kessel Racing driver, currently sitting P8 in our qualifying session, slows for the final left-hander, as Andreas Koenig now does a 1:34.579, and Jan Sandman bails the lap, which surprises me because he was on a good trajectory. But Andreas Koenig has taken almost a full second out of Boris Gideon, and then Henrik Kamstrup has now gone P2. Here comes Shintaro Akatsu. In the final 14 minutes of this qualifying session, I rather think it's going to ramp up a little.
Absolutely, Shintaro Akatsu is pushing, and he's in that final, or in that second sector, as Boris Gideon keeps out of the way as far as he can.
Can't make the car evaporate.
Especially in this twisty middle sector of this circuit where there is not a long straight, so effectively all you can do is just be predictable, not be there in the apex of the turns, and just try to make your 296 challenge as slim as possible, which is only possible metaphorically, obviously, but Shintaro Akatsu's second sector still personal best, but not as quick as the first one. But there is still a flurry of very, very quick times. I could try and name all the drivers, but you could effectively just read through the standings on the left-hand side. Everybody who's not in the pits is pushing and going quickly. A little bit of a sideways moment from Akatsu. He is certainly on his upward movement from P9, turns P8.
We are seeing some track limits now. Fritz Muller has had a lap time deleted. So has Alvaro Ramos, and so has Charles Chan. Now, it has to be said, those are not drivers that are troubling the top end of the qualifying chart at the moment, as Henrik Kamstrup is on an improvement trajectory. Can he wrestle away the P1 from Andreas Koenig? Not sure it's going to be enough, and it isn't. He stays P2. He is 8 and a bit tenths down on Andreas Koenig, who Sven Schirmer now threatens, as he has gone within half a second as quick as Andreas Koenig. So it is Koenig from Schirmer, from Kamstrup, from Paolo Scudieri, the driver that's out of position at the moment, Nico. And with 12 and a half minutes remaining is Jan Sandman, who Jan Sandman bailed the lap for reasons unknown to us when he was on an improvement trajectory. And Andreas Koenig is trying to improve still further, Nico, to almost cement his position at the top of the charts currently.
Yeah, absolutely. Jan Sandman is one that we will be watching, as you can see from the P on the graphics, is now dropped to P13, but more significantly, even he is in the pit lane. As long as he's there, no change possible. So we will keep an eye on that, as we will keep on everything else. Andreas Koenig, as you said, already P1 and still stretching his legs, putting all the power of the 296 Challenge power plant in action, runs very wide on the entry to the turn, maybe not quite the apex that he wanted, but lots of momentum taken out. I think he was within the limits of the track and lost a little bit on that.
Did.
And I think it was on the final turn that he just didn't get the apex right.
Now, what have we got? We've got 11 minutes remaining, Nico. Now, the tyres that the drivers are qualifying on are the tyres that the drivers will be racing on when it comes to the race a little bit later on, as Jan Sandman, you can just see from the left-hand side of your picture, makes his way out of the pit lane. So when does it become the risk-reward decision with regards to tyre longevity, Nico? Are you going to risk another lap of excruciating degradation on rubber rather than keeping the tyres as fresh as you possibly can for the race to come?
Well, the answer is always in the detail, you know, taking a lawyer's approach to it. It depends, as always. I mean, for the likes of Jan Sandman, there is no question he has to push and put more laps into the tire. If you're Andreas Koenig, potentially that's a different story, as we have a yellow flag in turn 14, and that means at the very end of the track, and there is a red flag. And I was just about to say is
Alvaro Ramos.
Yeah, and you can see the skid marks on the runoff area. Now, obviously, that means whoever was on a quick lap, Andreas Koenig, Henrik Kamstrup,
it's nutted.
It's nutted, and it means their attempts and their taking out of the Pirelli P0s, as we take a look at the replay. And
power slide, tries to control it. And unfortunately, the gravel trap is deliberately soft gravel, Nico. The reason being, you want that gravel to almost suck the car in and scrub the speed off. So that also means that when it comes to recovering the car, once it's made its way into the gravel trap, it's not the work of a moment and requires exterior assistance.
Yeah, absolutely. So that gives us a little bit of a moment to breathe and to regroup and to sort through where we are right now. Charles Chandler's with a good lap on the previous one, moving from down the standings all the way up into P5.
Yep. So the order is Koenig, Schirmer, Kamstrup, Gideon. No surprises there. The surprise at the moment is right at the bottom of the table is Jan Sandman. Jan will be determined to use the 9.5 minutes that remain in the qualifying session to make sure he gets to the sharp end of the table, which is, in fairness, where we would expect to see him, Nico. And there you can see Boris Gideon. Discussions going on then. Interesting to try and listen into those when we can. Tyre pressures being maintained and adjusted in this red flag situation, brought about by Alvaro Ramos just having to slide the car through turn 14. Unfortunately, the slide meant that he ended up into the sand trap, or gravel trap, if you will, and therefore is stuck there until the car can be recovered now. We'll take a measure of how efficient the recovery team at Valencia is or are once Alvaro's car has been removed, but I don't foresee a hugely long stop as we look at Charles Chan, who, as Nico mentioned, just sliding that car through there. I mean, these 296 Challenge cars are a wonderful car to drive. They are very, very forgiving as well, as you could see as Charles Chan really tested the suspension across the curbs and the rumble strips and just controlled the slide really rather nicely. It's not necessarily the quickest way around the track, but it was entertaining for us to look at, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. On both counts, as we see Pino Frascara at the very front of the queue, doors wide ajar to allow at least some air to flow through the car and not to the heat to build up while stationary. Adding a little bit of context to Jan Sandman and how extraordinary his lowly current position is. The last four races he competed in at Hockenheim and Brno was 3 wins and a P2. So that's the level that he has achieved over the last 2 events. So he would certainly be way out of position down in P13, but he's got just over 10 minutes to do something about it. And there he re-enters his office.
Yes, he's coached by Charlie Hollings, who was a fine racer himself, and the combo, Nico, of driver and driver coach works really well, as we are advised the session will restart in around about 2.5 minutes time at 9:26. So there we have it then. Yeah, I was mentioning the relationship they have is a very good one. Charlie has really brought Jan on, and Jan would be the first to say that, you know, he owes significant thanks for what he is achieving now as a really, really good racing driver, brought about by the advice that he's taken on board from Charlie Hollings, who knows a thing or two about winning races. Here is the 133 car then of Charles Chan, the Formula Racing driver, running up there in P5 at the moment in our qualifying. It's Koenig, Schirmer, Kamstrup, the top 3 then as the session was suspended. And just as the session was closed, Sven Schirmer got within 6 1/1000ths of Andreas Koenig, so it's getting tight at the top.
Yeah, and Henrik Kamstrup is 52 100ths, 52 1,000ths off, so also only half a tenth away. So our top 3 drivers effectively within a heartbeat. Just goes to show how close and competitive this championship is.
We were in the garage of Pro Racing, the team that look after one of our other Ferrari Challenge category drivers, that of Herbert Guys. And his driver coach is Harold Guys. Now there are the glasses, Nico, of Andrea Gagliardini. I mean, bright yellow. I mean, he's a big character in his own right, and a big and successful racing driver, and he's looking after Sven Schirmer. His compatriot in terms of driver coaching, Max Blancardi, I would suggest will be on duty in Indianapolis as we speak this weekend.
Yeah, as we have a look at Shintaro Akatsu being preparing himself and his car being looked after, and you know, every little bit of cooling you can get as a driver is appreciated at this stage, because obviously as long as the car is stationary, the heat will build up inside it. There is no airflow to speak of. But as you can see, Pino Frascaro, doors closed, 15 seconds away from the session restarting, and then it's going to be a very, very intense 10.5 minutes or so, because
it is.
Everybody will be looking to go out. I say everybody. Maybe the likes of Andreas Koenig will feel that, do I really do that? Do I wait? Do I preserve the tires rather than going to a full new heat cycle? We will find out.
I bet he'll be out, but it's a hunch rather than any factual evidence. So the car's making their way out right now. The green flag is fluttered and the green light is on at the end of the pit lane as we look at the back end of the Alexei Komarov car, the Scuderia Prague driver, with that really, really interesting color scheme. Charles Chan that we ride on board with right now. You can see the paddle shift, which is used for gear change in the 296 Challenge car. That's a great onboard shot, Nico, to be fair. Gives you a real indication of what the driver goes through and how absolutely concreted into the driver's seat they are. The mandatory, really, really good full harness system. The crash helmet with hands device, fireproof suit, fireproof balaclava. The drivers are proper, full-on, 100% racing drivers in there, and absolutely, you don't move a bit inside that car, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely, but it also means, as we just saw from Charles Chan, when you run over the curbs and you can feel and hear the rumble, that's something that the drivers inside their seats will feel very, very much, because there are shock absorbers, but they are obviously designed and geared to the absolute toughest setting. So the drivers will really appreciate every little bit of this rumble strip on the curbs.
I mean, away from the rumble strips, the surface, the asphalt here at Valencia is super smooth, isn't it? And of course, the grip level will change during the course of the day. It will evolve as more rubber goes down from the Pirellis that the Ferrari Challenge run on. Long-standing tyre partners, Pirelli Motorsport, supporting the Ferrari Challenge, and of course the temperature will increase on the tarmac as well. So all of those factors have a combo effect, don't they, in terms of how the track will evolve during the course of the day. And what the drivers are experiencing now, as we watch the speed cam, what the drivers experience now in terms of what the track is affording them may be altogether different when it comes to their race this afternoon.
Yeah, definitely. And it hasn't rained for quite a few days here in Valencia, so that means all the aggregate rubber from testing and free practice sessions already there on the track. But as you say, it still keeps evolving, and evolving is the right word for Henrik Kemstrup. It only shows gray on our graphics, but it actually is quicker than the previous pole time from Andreas Koenig. The reason it's not purple is that that previous time was abandoned by the red flag, so he is quicker than anybody having completed a lap, and Henrik Kemstrup therefore attacking. Second sector not quite as good, but it immediately shows that there is still very much the potential in the circuit to put in a time that will challenge Andreas Koenig, and Andreas Koenig has come out as you predicted and has just completed his outlap. Effectively everybody but Alvaro Ramos, who was obviously beached, is now back out on the track.
We're going to keep our eye on track limits. Sven Schirmer's just had a lap time deleted. Charles Chan is up to 3 track limits. That's 3 laps deleted. Fritz Muller has lost 1 lap, and Alvaro Ramos, of course, has lost 2 laps. One of those was by dint of the fact he ended up in the gravel. Here's Jomana Toniela then, who was very, very impressive last time out and will be a lady worth watching in terms of her racecraft during the course. Currently sitting P6, very quietly going about her qualifying business. Nico?
Absolutely. We haven't seen much of her, but that's not indicative of her performance. P6 provisionally, a very, very good showing.
Oh, the wonderful sound of these 300 horsepower 296 Challenge cars accelerating out of a turn is music to one's ears. It's Koenig from Schirmer, from Kemstrup, but we're watching the Ainiko Rapato Corsa Ram driver Jomana Toniela then closing and compressing the suspension now, going around the final turn. Back end of the car stepping out just a little bit, perfectly controlled by Jomana Toniela, who heads to break the timing beam now. Is this going to be an improvement on a previous time? No, it's not. So perhaps expect the improvement to come on this lap. It remains Andreas Koenig and Sven Schirmer and Henrik Kamstrup. Still out of position is Jan Sandman. The best that he's been able to offer is a 1:36.646. That's a full 2.5 seconds slower than those at the front end of our qualifying. So Jan Sandman we're expecting to see good things from.
Absolutely. First sector was only 2/100ths of the provisional pole time, so certainly very much on an upward trajectory as Henrik Kamstrup with a good time currently in P3, as both Andreas Koenig and previously mentioned Sven Schirmer with track limit infractions, meaning that their last lap times did not count. Henrik Kamstrup, no such drama or no such issues. Yeah, friendly man, also in this picture. Very friendly in real life as well, and a very, very good race driver. So take a look at the replay here, and now we pick up Jan Sandman, P12.
Don't think it's going to be P12 though come the end of this lap, as Jan Sandman now compresses the suspension, brakes hard through the left-hander. Probably, oh, he didn't get that executed perfectly. I still think this might be an improvement, but it will count as naught now because track limits have been affecting and impacting on his lap, and those track limits came right through turn 14. You could see it as clear as day, couldn't you? Unfortunately, he just got the he just got it wrong and probably carried a little bit too much speed, and therefore was not able to complete that lap. So he's got to go again. I can tell you that Sven Schirmer is in the pit lane. Not only is he in the pit lane, Nico, he's out of the car as well. So with just 4 minutes remaining, Sven Schirmer has decided that he's done the best that he possibly can. Now, the pressure is ramping up on Jan Sandman. He can ill afford to make any errors, Nico, in terms of track limits, because there are only 3.5 minutes left in this quali session, and he's currently sitting P12.
Absolutely, and as Shintaro Katsu improves the pace, you said he carried a lot of speed, or too much speed, into that final turn. He had to scrub that off, and that meant he didn't have the full amount of speed on the home straight, which already put him on the back foot for the next lap. And the first sector was decent, but it already meant a tenth and a half lost on the first sector. So the second one is better, and that he actually captured some time, reduced the deficit. So he is again on a very good trajectory, but he needs to nail that final turn.
Let's see how he does now. Certainly better than last time around, and keeps two wheels within the white lines. As he heads to break the timing beam, it's going to be an improvement on P12, and he does. He vaults himself up to the second row of the grid, and just 5 100ths, or just 6 100ths down on the Andreas Koenig time. So for the moment, it's Koenig, Schirmer, Kamstrup, Sandman. Henrik Kamstrup out there, not on a quick lap, being followed by Shintaro Akatsu. Shintaro Akatsu goes through. Henrik doing his level best to get his car out of the way of Shintaro Akatsu. That was good gentlemanly driving from the driver of the 113296 challenge car. And Shintaro Akatsu, you can see, even though Henrik got out of his way as best he could, that still compromised that middle sector for Shintaro Akatsu.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Kamstrup wasn't on a bad lap himself, but they kind of compromise each other's laps to a degree, but it shows the track is still quick. Katsu is still with an improvement, but it could have been so much quicker. And he's got two more attempts actually if he wants them, but it takes more out of the tire. So it's the one thing that the drivers don't want, is having to have another go at this. Boris Gideon also with an improvement. First sector very good, second sector let's say decent, not quite up to the lofty standards of Sector 1. Let's see where he finishes. P6 for the time being. Well, he finishes in the pit lane, actually.
That's it, and no more laps for Boris Gideon then. So, Koenig, Schirmer, Kamstrup. Now, Schirmer and Kamstrup are in the pit lane. Jan Sandman, of course, is still getting around the track, as indeed is Charles Chan, who we ride on board with now. The Formula Racing driver, Charles Chan, hoping to improve from that P5 place. We have 1 minute and 10 seconds of this qualifying session remaining. Anyone that crosses the timing line before the checkered flag has come out, well, they can do another lap. But the laps left are being really reduced now, because the time left is under 60 seconds in this qualifying session. So Charles Chan then, driver of the 133 car for Formula Racing, who is currently fifth fastest. Just taking a look at the sector times of Jan Sandman. And there we pick up the Jan Sandman car, who's just done another track limits, Nico. So that's Horlick's this lap. Now, he should be able to get another lap in. I would suggest, no, he's not going to be able to.
That doesn't look like it.
Where he is on the track now, Nico, he's not going to get around there in 23 seconds. So that means for Jan Salmon, it's going to be a row 2 start.
At best, of course, because there might still be other drivers who are challenging Alexei Komarov with a good first sector. I mean, just think 6/100ths are the difference
close,
between what P1 and P5 effectively. That's how close it is at the sharp end. So effectively, if anybody were to trouble P4, it would effectively also trouble pole time. So I'm not sure if anybody's going to get all the way up there, even though we still have good sector times, as the clock has run down. So whoever crosses the timing line will finish their session.
Germana Toniella, then, we're watching at the moment. It's P8 for Germana. And this is not, I don't think, going to be an improvement from Germana Toniella in terms of that row 4 start. One turn to do. I wouldn't be altogether surprised if she indicates right and comes into the pit lane rather than completes the lap in any event. Let's see. Well, it's not often I predict things correctly, but on this occasion I have. And you can see probably a disappointed Jan Salmon in as well. He not able to do another lap, and that final lap that he was able to do impacted by track limits. Shintaro Akatsu, he is certainly still pushing hard, and Shintaro is currently P7. Now again, looking at the sector times, I'm not convinced that Shintaro is going to be able to improve, but he might. So P7 for Shintaro Akatsu, stays P7. So I think we've got our leading lights for qualifying, and Andreas Koenig, Nico, will bank an additional point. And there you can see his driver coach, Giacomo Altoe, current Trofeo Pirelli champion. Be very, very happy. And Sven Schirmer, it was a steadfast qualifying from Sven, P2.
Yeah, and Sven Schirmer has only one race win. I say that with all full respect.
Yes.
He's 3 points up the order from anybody else, but he's just done that by being consistent on the podium, P2, P3 for effectively all of the races.
For sure. Try. Otherwise, I take it back. Try.
Henrik Hamstrup and Stefano Guy having a conversation as we take a look at the driver car combo that has put it P1 in qualifying in Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell-Am. This is Andreas Koenig. Thumping bass for a smiling race then as we looked at Andreas Koenig, and we look at the downhill section of the start-finish straight here at the wonderful Valencia circuit. Ricardo Tormo from our drone that hovers nicely, and we can see our confirmed classification right now. Andreas Koenig looking very serious in that picture. Taking it to P1, Sven Schirmer P2, then it was Henrik Hamstrup, Jan Salmon, Charles Jan, Boris Gideon, Shintaro Akatsu, Germana Toniella. They will occupy the first 4 rows of the grid ahead of Paolo Scudieri. Probably out of position there, I would say. Fritz Muller, Alexei Komarov, Pino Frascaro, and Alvaro Ramos. They are our runners and riders in Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell-Am. Thank you for watching qualifying. Bye-bye for now. Good morning. Welcome to the Circuit Ricardo Tormo. This is round 5 of Ferrari Challenge for 2025. And we have our qualifying session for Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am about to get underway here. 30 minutes on the clock for the drivers to set the best lap time possible. Welcome to this wonderful part of Spain and this wonderful Valencia circuit, which sits almost in a stadium complex, really. This is the 5th round of our 2025 season, as I mentioned, having been to Monza, Misano, Hockenheim, Brno. Here we are, the first of 2 weekends in Spain, because we go to Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, then it's Spa-Francorchamps, and then the final round of the year, and also the host of the glittering World Finals, Mugello Circuit, towards the end of October. And so we have 2 classes in the next qualifying session. It's our Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers. Track temperature is 42 degrees, the air temperature is 29 degrees, and rising, may I say. And there you can see the local bird life just fluttering on the 9-kilometre-per-hour gust of wind that encompasses now. Great work by our cameramen there, following that beautifully. Following this track will enable you to set a really good lap time. It is 4 kilometres long. There are 14 turns, 9 left, and 5 of them are right-handers. The track, of course, is named after the Spanish 2-time world champion Grand Prix motorcycle racer Ricardo Tormo. And just one long straight, which is the start-finish straight. Here are the drivers that you'll see. Now, the drivers with the red strip across the top of the windscreen are Pirelli drivers, including Yasin Ferrati and Max Mugelli. The ones with the white strip are Am drivers, including Andrew Morrow, Danilo Del Favro, Herbert Guys. Then we find Koen Wiedlersbach, Anders Bidstrup. Welcome, Anders. Felix Herziger, Michael Verhagen, Enzo Trulli is back, Matt Rosner, Nobuhiro Amada, David Gosner. Then it is Jakob Bidstrup, Henri Acid, Marco Sanazzi, Otto Blank, Gilles Redman, Angelo Fontano, Hanno Laskowski, Armin Arifpour, Vincenzo Scarpetta, and Hendrik Fiol, as we look at the number 22 car right now of Koen Wiedlersbach. And Koen Wiedlersbach is back with a vengeance. Henri Acid, we can see there, Henri Acid, who's vaulted up to the Trofeo Pirelli class for 2025. And as he mentioned to me when we were in the Czech Republic, Nico, could be grandfather to some of our drivers, including the likes of Vincenzo Scarpetta, potentially.
Well, possibly even, yeah. Vincenzo Scarpetta had a great showing in Brno last time around, and we have our 23-car-strong lineup here in this qualifying session, which obviously means traffic is gonna be very intense. And the first indication of that is, as we take a look at the Enzo Trulli car, another very aspirational young driver with a very inspirational father, and himself Formula One racer Jarno Trulli. Max Mugelli, also still waiting. We saw in our Shell-Am qualifying just an hour ago that the drivers were waiting very, very long to even go out on the track. I think strategy will be a little bit different just by virtue of having so many cars in this session, that if you wait too long, it's almost inevitable that you will encounter traffic. So you kind of have to balance the fact that, you know, traffic is probably going to be as its most at the very end of the qualifying session. Equally, the track may evolve and be at its quickest at the end of the session. So strategy and the team's influence in the quali result will probably play a big role in what we will see in the next 30 minutes or so.
I think you're absolutely right as we look at the number 30 car driven by Felix Herziger, who I have to say has been utterly, utterly awesome this season in Ferrari Challenge. The Ineco reporter casts Ram driver Felix Herziger then, who has seldom put a foot wrong across the season. And Felix will be hoping to do well here. Andrew Morrow then dons the crash helmet. You see Mrs. Morrow at the back there with sunglasses on, about to see her son go out there and do a great job in qualifying, as I'm sure Andrew will. So final stages of preparation for Enzo, who's been on the podium, Nico, twice in fact. Will his appearance here in Valencia bank him the win that it's a question of when, not if, will come his way?
Well, all indications are, but obviously the competition is fierce and strong, and there in the foreground is, I believe, the Felix Hilziger car, and he, as you said, such a strong vein of form after emerging from Monza, somewhat dejected, but hasn't made any mistakes since, and it took a Herculean effort from Vincenzo Scarpetta in race 2 at Renault to snap the winning stream of Felix Hilziger, where Scarpetta came from like 5 seconds down and was just on a different planet in terms of speed for the second half of the race, and snatched the victory away, thereby making sure that Felix Hilziger wasn't able to just move up the order unimpeded, as Herbert Geis is one of the first drivers to show track limits, also already showing its face in the early part of this session. And we've seen it already in the first quali earlier, with the heat and the desire of the drivers to minimize the strain on the tires in qualifying session. Every single track limit infraction hurts extra, because it not only means your track and lap time is deleted, but it means you have to go again. You have to do it all over again and put more...
Slam dunk.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
Not that he gained a lot of time there, but, you know, the rules are the rules.
And that's one of the, that was turn 14, Nico. That is one of the places where track limits is a problem. Also, the double apex turn can be a problem, as then Nobuhiro Amada looks on. It is Herbert Geis that is quickest at the moment from Matt Rosner, then Quinn Fiedlersbach and Otto Blank. And talking of Otto Blank, here he is, Nico, on a good trajectory to improve still further, because he's done a quicker than anyone Sector 1, a personal best through Sector 2. Now, it's this turn that you approach right now where track limits can be a problem. Otto is clean and tidy through there, and I think keeps 2 wheels within the white lines. Therefore, this lap should not be impeded by a track limits warning. This could be a new P1 from Otto Blank. It's not quite, it's a P2, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely, and the times are already very, very good, because we're already in the area where the Copper Shell Am drivers finished their session, the 1:35, 34, mid 1:34s. Now, we always expect the Pirelli Am and especially the Pirelli drivers to be significantly quicker, but it just shows those are already times that are roughly within the range of what we can expect later on, with maybe a second or two quicker come the end of the session.
Matt Rosner, we watch right now. He's currently third fastest, having posted a 1:35.351, but with a personal best across Sector 1 and Sector 2 as well. It's Herbert Geis, Otto Blank, Matt Rosner. They are the top 3 in qualifying thus far. A Mertel Motorsport driver is Matt Rosner, as he rounds the final turn now and heads towards the timing beam, and breaking that, he goes from P3 to P1, Nico. And that just proves the point. You don't have to have every sector purple. You can just personally best improve, and he's done that to the tune of just under 2 tenths, and he is now P1 with a 1:34.477.
Exactly. So our early runners really maximizing the fact that there is very little traffic on the track.
Herbert Geis.
Herbert Geis does exactly that. Takes 6 tenths out of the previous best time from Matt Rosner. So again, just using the ability that traffic doesn't play a part in this part of the session. The vast majority of the drivers have not figured yet, but we see another 5 or 6 drivers on their out laps currently. So steadily the track will get more busy, and finding track space will be ever more challenging.
Yes, it's interesting that it's Pirelli Am drivers really that are setting the scene initially, and Herbert Geis doing a great job for Maranello Motors Pro Racing. He is, of course, coached by Harald Prochik. If ever a driver coach wore his emotions on his sleeve, Harald is that chap, truthfully. But the combination of Harald and Herbert Geis working together works so very well, and Herbert Geis doing a great job in qualifying thus far. So, as you can see, Sector 1 quicker than anyone. He's already P1 with a 1:33.875. The only driver to have put it into the 33s, and he's improved a further 3 1/3 tenths. So this is looking good. Now, what Herbert needs to do is make sure that he doesn't run adrift of the white lines on the final turn. You carry so much speed here, Nico, because you're running downhill as well. And it's almost encouraging your car to break those track limits. But I think Herbert is okay on this occasion as he breaks the timing beam. He's a further 0.3 quicker, Nico, at 1:33.532.
Absolutely. And now I think there will be the discussion inside the garage. Do you push more? Do you come back into the pit lane and just wait and see what transpires? Because this is probably... I don't think there is much more in the track at this stage.
If it was me, and it isn't, I'd park that car because to... take another set of another lap out of the tyres. Look at this from Henri Acide, Nico. Cumulative time is 1.5 seconds up on anybody else.
Well,
it's going to be extraordinary from Henri Acide.
A little bit of a sideways moment there. I think the gap was towards his next best Pirelli drivers, not the overall, because obviously our rankings are shown in class, so he will be very, very quick. And first in class, but 2/10 off the Herbert guy's time. So
yep, you're right.
Pride for the Pirellis restored with Henri Acide on the front row provisionally, but still showing how close the gap between Pirelli and Pirelli Am is more often than not. And you said it, Henri Acide was our Shell champion last year, and he effectively vaulted the Pirelli Ams. Underscoring how good a driver he is and how competitive all our classes are, as Quinn Wittelsbach, a young Swiss driver, still competed in the 488 challenge last year.
That wasn't the quickest way through that sequence of turns, as he got the car airborne, Nico.
Yeah.
Great for us to watch, of course, but not necessarily the quickest way around the track. But Quinn Wittelsbach, forever entertaining, if nothing else.
Yeah, Emil Ferrari Racing obviously knows a thing about engineering a 296 in its various guises, be it GT3 or Challenge. And there is Vincenzo Scarpetta. We already made mention of his performance at Brno with his Race 2 being one of the masterclass drives in recent Ferrari Challenge memory, and there are a lot of those, and he is currently P2 in class and makes that a P1, and that is now by 1.1 seconds over anybody else. That's a statement and a half.
It is the only driver into the 32s, Vincenzo Scarpetta. Here is Quinn Wittelsbach's. Well, first of all, that was a sideways motor. I thought we were going to get a replay of him flying over the curbs, but it wasn't that. This might be, though. Yes, it is. There you go. 2 wheels on my wagon. That's what he had at that point. Only 2 wheels making contact with the tarmac. Right, Herbert Guys is now going to get ready to respond to those whipper-snapping Pirelli drivers that have gone to the top of the chart. Herbert Guys would like to be there overall rather than just within category. But Herbert Guys then, the quickest of our Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers with a 1:33.532. In fact, he's the only Pirelli Am driver in the 33s, Nico. And at that time was some 4/10 down. Remember what I was saying about park the car, Herbert? Park the car, give yourself tyres. Here's Andrew Morrow. For Charles Hurst organisation, Andrew Morrow then, former Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli champion in the UK. Until the Ferrari Challenge had never raced anything excepting the wheelbarrow in the garden. Andrew Morrow has taken to motor racing like the proverbial duck to water, and he's looking quick here, Nico. He's currently 10th fastest, but I'd expect an improvement from Andrew Morrow, the Charles Hurst driver then. As he rounds the final turn now, we'll head towards the checkered flag. I can see that Otto Blank is out of the car. As Andrew Morrow then crosses the timing beam and goes P1 in class, Nico. 5/100ths quicker than Herbert Guys.
Wow, and that is exactly the textbook approach to this, as he just came out, blitzed it, and made a very, very good move. Jill Renman tried to do the same, was very quick, but track limits means that he is not going to make this lap count.
The reason I'm laughing is Nico's just pointed out something on our data screens. That Quinn Wittelsbach, he of entertaining stature, in so entertaining, has delivered had 9 laps deleted for track, or 7 laps deleted.
9 track limit infractions on 7 laps. So the Emil Ferrari Racing team will certainly advise him to maybe calm down a little bit and just not be over aggressive on some corners. Certainly they have to find a little bit more consistency around the turns, and I'm sure they will do that, as Felix Herziger, he is not in need of being advised in terms of consistency. As we said, his win streak was only broken at Brno Race 2 after 5 wins, so it's 5 wins and a P2 in succession. But he would like to get back on his winning ways, and the best way to do that would be to put it on pole position. Valencia is a track where you can overtake, but it's always tricky. P3 for the time being. Gilles Randman, as you can see, he is also pushing. Previous lap time deleted due to track limits. So he's going to try and move up the order from P6, but there is traffic ahead.
Yes, and that could hurt. So Gilles Randman's then quicker than anyone through Sector 1, personal best through Sector 2, and a bit of a moment there running through the third from last turn. But he held onto the car as it compromised the speed that he had as he heads towards breaking the timing beam now. It's going to be an improvement, but is it going to be enough? Well, not enough for P1, but enough for P2. A 1:32.652, Nico. Here's Felix Herziger then, who's been relegated to P4. Oh, and he runs wide through that double apex, but holds onto the car. He too has got traffic ahead of him. I think far enough ahead that it won't impact or trouble him. Actually, it might, and that looks like the car of Armin Arifpour. So Armin Arifpour will try and get out of the way. But unfortunately, you just can't make your car evaporate, and that's ruined Felix Herziger's lap, probably.
Yeah, and I mean, Arifpour is his own qualifying session. As you can see, he's not letting off because he can't. He has to put in the fastest lap.
He's in the quali as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and that I think will impact Felix Herziger's time. Well, not to the point. Not to the point that it thwarted his attempt at a provisional P1, but I do think that he may have lost a tenth or two in that final sector. But just goes to show how quick and how steady Felix Herziger is. Gilles Randman with a good first sector, trying to challenge this driver. Second sector not quite as good.
Need to put out a big shout out to Max Mugelli, who's going very well as well, and he's 4th fastest, Nico. Has a liking for the Valencia circuit. Whoa, that was a big sideways moment, and one to really enjoy. And that was a nice moment. Look at that. Herbert Guys and Otto Blank, as we split the screen, having a photograph there. Both racing in the pro racing organisation. And here, for the first time of seeing him on track, is Hendrik Viol. I say the first time of seeing him. He's been out there doing it. He's top of the Pirelli AM category. And Hendrik Viol for Scuderia Prague Racing is P1. He's delivered a 1:32.843. And this is how competitive it is in Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo Pirelli. Top 6 drivers, Nico, all in the 1:32s.
Absolutely, and we still have a few that haven't really shown, and one of them is Michael Verhagen, very quick driver and quickest in the test pre-practice yesterday in class. So we expect him to be very quick. There is Enzo Trulli. You said it, when he was in Hockenheim, he put it on the podium 2 times. And he's going to try and do more of the same, currently ranking in P6, not with a very quick time by his own standards, has a track limit infraction on this lap, so not going to be able to do something about it immediately, but maybe the next time around.
A really charming young man he is. Hanno Laskowski. Hanno Laskowski, if I may say, at both Hockenheim and Brno, for all the not necessarily right reasons, gave us some fantastic race entertainment, but taking to parts of the track that weren't tarmac. Hanno is great fun. He's a great character. The Ferrari Challenge is littered with fantastic characters, and Hanno Laskowski is one of those. As Felix Herziger then gets the back end of the car sliding a little bit. The order is Herziger, Scarpetta, Renmans, and Mugelli. And then it's Hendrik Viol, who is the best of the AM drivers ahead of Marco Zanassi. No surprise there. Hugely competitive in the AM category between Marco Zanassi and Hendrik Viol.
Absolutely. Felix Herziger, we follow him around the track. Not that this lap is necessarily going to be an improvement for him. And I guess also for his team, the Leica Reparto Corsa Ram team, and they call him into the pit lane just to preserve some tires. As Marco Zanazzi is doing a very, very different thing. Currently P8 in the standings, but his sector time certainly indicative of an improvement in the car. First sector amazing, second also very, very good, and certainly still challenging very much for a front row start in class, if not overall. Final turn still to be done. Marco Zanazzi rounding it very, very close to the apex, meaning he scrubbed off a lot of speed. That means he's kept it clean and tidy through there, and P3 in class turns into P1, P4 overall. Great lap from Marco Zanazzi.
Well done indeed. So driver of the number 69 car, Marco Zanazzi, well, continues his great season for 2025. We're live with qualifying for Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am from the Circuit de Ricardo Tormo in Valencia. Felix Herziger, Vincenzo Scarpetta, Gilles Renmans. And Vincenzo Scarpetta feeling that he's done as much as he can do for the Radici Automobili organization, as Enzo Trulli, who is currently P5 within class, P8 overall. More to come, I would think, from Enzo Trulli before the end of this session, which has about 10.5 minutes to run, Nico. And it is Henri Acide, who is P6 in class at the moment. He's on his way out of the pit lane. So Michael Verhagen now has gone quickest for our AM drivers. The Ferrari Warsaw driver is P1. And we pick up on the number 34 car right now. That being Enzo Trulli, who we go back on board with. So Gilles Renmans, oh, sideways moment for him as the back end of the car stepped out. We split the screen, which is always interesting to see, the discussions going on in the garages as well. I just sometimes wish we'd got a load of boundary mics, if you will, inside the garages so that we could pick up with what they were saying at times, but clearly probably best sometimes not to hear what they're saying. So Gilles Renmans then for Francorchamps Motors Brussels. It remains Felix Herziger, Vincenzo Scarpetta. Those two drivers are sufficiently satisfied that they're in the pit lane. Now here is Yasin Ferrati, who is a driver that is out of position. Nico is currently P7.
Yeah, but he is. But as you can see from the split sector times, he is very much doing something about it. And as we can see, no traffic in front of him. So his first two sectors indicative of that order on the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen, about to change, rounds the final turn, doesn't run foul of track limits, so that P7 that figure might straighten up a little bit and turn from 7 to 1, and indeed it does.
Well, the Emil Frey team are very happy with Yasin Ferrati then, who has delivered P1, and he's done that, Nico, having only run 4 laps.
And that is ideal, especially in these conditions, and well, it's going to be interesting what that does to the strategy of Herziger and Scarpetta. Will that prompt them to come out again, or will they say, actually, another heat cycle through the Pirelli P0s is something we can afford, but we don't necessarily want to, and we don't see the benefit on balance.
Well, I think Scarpetta is actually out of the car. I can't say that for Felix Herziger, but I've seen from one of the feeds that we have, there's an issue for Max Mugelli, Nico. He's running very slowly now. I was extolling the virtues of Max Mugelli, who'd at one point was in P4. Now Hendrik Viol feels that he's done as much as he can do, and it's a lowly qualifying for Hendrik Viol, Nico. It's P4.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobuhiro Imada is one driver who's very, very quick and pushing, and as is Yasin Ferrati in actual fact. But I do think that maybe the heat and the conditions will just prompt some drivers to not bail qualifying, but just err on the side of tire preservation.
Yes.
Because the way that this circuit is built, with the amount of turns that you have, very few long straights, it's especially tough on the tires. And we've seen that. And once the tires start going off and you lose grip on those long, winded turns, especially towards turn 14,
yep,
the long left-hander, you can immediately lose 2 or 3 tenths every single lap. And so I think it's sound strategy from the drivers, but as a racing driver, it has to hurt that you think, well, actually, I do have a few tenths in me in the car now. But I just decide I don't want to, I can't.
Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor, isn't it? You know, you're thinking more long term. As Nobuhiro Yamada, you're absolutely right, is looking very, very good indeed, and is second fastest in class, as Michael Verhagen, though, is fastest, and that is how you pile on the opposite lock, you slide the car beautifully, and he did that for the benefit of us only.
Well, I venture to say that that was not the pole lap in class, but
You're right.
he is, as you say, P1 only by less than 4 100ths, and we've seen
Herziger is back out, Nico, forgive me.
We've seen marginal gaps only thus far in the qualifying, and again that proves, and as you say, Felix Herziger is not taking P2 lying down, unlike Scarpetta, who is indeed out of the car, as is Gilles Renman, as we can see, but Henri Acid currently P7 in class.
We can see Gilles Renman from one of the feeds we have into our studio, and Gilles is out of the car and looking at the screens as we speak, so we can exclusively bring you that information being fed into us as Nobuhiro Yamada is continuing to push really, really hard here. His sector 2 he's bailed the lap now, I think. He's slowed significantly, Nico, realizing that he's Horlick's that lap. And will he go again, or will he bring it into the pit lane? We've got 5.5 minutes remaining in this quali session. I rather feel that he's going to bring it in, and sure enough, that's what he do. Indicates right, and into the pit lane. It is Ferrari quickest for our Pirelli drivers, and it is Verhagen quickest for our AM drivers. Here's Nobuhiro Yamada, and this is where the lap went horribly wrong for him. It's there, look, where you really lift the car over those curbs, the car gets airborne, and that can compromise your exit of the turn and also your entry for the next turn. And Nobuhiro clearly feels that he cannot improve anymore. Unlike Felix Herziger, who obviously does feel that he can improve a bit more and therefore take the chase to Yassin Ferrati. Yassin Ferrati is the only driver in any qualifying session today to put the car in the 131, so 131.909. And he's only run 6 laps. To be fair, Felix Herziger, he feels like he's been out on the track a lot longer, but he hasn't. He's also done 6 laps. Most laps have been done by the likes of Matt Rosner, Hanno Luskovski, and Gilles Renmans. And as Nico made the point, just in the heat that we are expecting across the course of the day here, and Felix Herziger has obviously decided he can't improve. With the heat that we can expect across the day here, it's just bring the car in and save those tyres for the race. Now, Hanno Luskovski, always one to entertain, continues to do so by running a bit wide, kicking up a bit of gravel as a little bit of what we call a G effects, general effects on our screen, so that we can see that. He's always thinking of us, you know.
Yeah, I think he's got his checklist. Grass, check. Curbs, check. Gravel, oh, check. No, actually, I mean, Hanno Luskovski is a lovely person and a great driver. Sometimes taking the unorthodox line, and as you say, entertainment value always there. Only I see swooshing past on his attempt to still improve on his current position. Let's see. Well, the current lap was compromised by track limits.
Well done, Nobuhiro Yamada, P2. Well done, friend. He'd done well.
And actually, with 3 minutes remaining, there is barely a car out there. There is Amin Orifpour in an outlap, and then it's Matt Rosner, Hanno Luskovski, and Henri Acid, and those are the only 4 drivers. As you can see from the blue ribbons almost on the left-hand side of the graphics, everybody else.
P, meaning pit lane.
Yep. Yeah. And that means there is very little traffic right now out on the track, but the drivers will just feel the tire management is so of supreme importance.
Well done, Michael Verhagen of Ferrari Warsaw fame has put it P1 for our Pirelli AM drivers. Henri Acid is continuing In fact, Henri Acid is one of only 2 drivers that is continuing.
Yeah.
So he's got the track all to himself now, Nico, and he's got 2 minutes. What can he do?
Well, we're about to find out. Recent laps have not been indicative that the track is evolving, and I think that was already a little bit of a push too much potentially for race control to be okay with that. And first sector time as it is, I think the gap is already too big effectively to have an improvement. As we also picture-in-picture have a look at Michael Verhagen, who, you know, given the temperature in the car, he still looks pretty chipper.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. Testament to that is probably the fact that as Henri Acid has realised that there's nothing to be gained, Nico, and has decided to bail this lap. And here we can see Henri Acid then deciding that this moment was enough to close out the qualifying session as far as he and every other driver is concerned, because we have now not one driver on a competitive lap out there on track with just less than a minute remaining in this qualifying session. We effectively have the order. And that man, that young man, Yasin Ferrati for Emil Frey Racing. And I've made mention of the fact that I've met Yasin for the first time in esports racing, Nico, which is something we'll potentially be talking about in our next qualifying session. Yasin doing a good job in real racing cars.
Absolutely, and as there is the Ferrari esports championship, which is something, as you say, we'll be talking more. It's just part of racing nowadays. And a great career path, and Yasin Ferrati is a great example of that.
Yes, and just proves the point, you know, where it used to be. Karting was the route, wasn't it? Then junior single-seaters, senior single-seaters, expensive single-seaters, more expensive single-seaters. The whole landscape around motorsport is changing now, Nico, and you are seeing young drivers come into categories like this now because they realise the funnel is so narrow at the top of the motorsport train, if you will, that, you know, if you want a great career as a factory driver potentially, then you need to be seen in cars like these. And that's why we see so many young talents like Yasin Ferrati driving in the Ferrari Challenge. I mean, the list is endless of those that we have seen over the past, and examples of drivers that have got wonderful motor racing careers now brought about by dint of the fact that they've served time, if you will, in the Ferrari Challenge. And Yasin Ferrati's time served was a 1:31.909 in that qualifying session. The quickest of any driver. And there is young Yasin. Well done.
Half the job is done.
Half the job is done, he says. Half the job is done, of course, because he's got to do it in the race as well. Let's get the confirmed classification then. Yasin Ferrati, 1:31.909, ahead of Felix Herziger and Vincenzo Scarpetta. Michael Verhagen is the best of the AM drivers, ahead of Nobuhiro Imada. Nobuhiro, a brilliant qualifying. And Marco Zanassi, P3 in qualifying for our AM drivers. The rest of the order, Hendrik Viol, out of position. But will he have tyre longevity? Enzo Trilli also, if I'm honest with you, I expected Enzo to be higher up the order. Henri Acid, never bet against him. David Gosner, Danilo Del Favaro, Hanno Laskowski, Jakob Bidstrup, Anders Bidstrup, the two Bidstrups together in qualifying. Then it was Andrew Morrow, Herbert Guys, who at one point was leading, then Angelo Fontana, and then the rest of the order, as you can see. So there we have it, the results from our qualifying from the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. We have more qualifying to come from Copa-Shell. That will be on air very, very soon. But for now, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
when this one is red, you're on air. So if you something have to cough or something like that, just reactivate it because otherwise it's dead.
So is it just for me?
This is this is your channel. This is your mute button, and here is the level of Dave's voice. This is the level of your voice, and this is the sound international. So everything about the effects and also the recorded interviews and stuff like that. So never close this too much, otherwise you can't hear the interviews. And that's it. This is a callback to the Obi-Wan, to the regie, but you don't need this because it's just for coordinating. Mainly Dave use it, and that's all. So ready to go.
When I start, it'll be a few moments before I can get you in because I've got a lot of things I have to run through.
Okay. In case you will let me know when.
Oh, of course, of course. Of course.
So this one was yours, this one was mine, and this is for the interviews and blah blah.
Yeah, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn. We'll be showing you our full calendar in just a moment, but here is our formal welcome to this wonderful circuit. I particularly like Valencia because it's built like a stadium, and therefore wherever you are in this, you can see the 4-kilometer circuit in full. As I mentioned, I said I'd talk about our calendar. This is our first visit of 2 into Spain this year, because from here we head to the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, before Spa-Francorchamps in September, which means in September it'll probably be snowing in Spa, and then Mugello. And incidentally, big weekend in Spa this weekend as well, with the 24 hours of Spa race taking place this weekend. In fact, a trio of big endurance races. Of course, we've had Le Mans where, may I just say, we were victorious yet again. Then, of course, the Nürburgring 24 and now the Spa 24-hour race. As you can see, 48 degrees the temperature for the track. And we're expecting to get into the mid-30s in terms of air temperature today here in Valencia. So here is the track then, 4.005 kilometers. The circuit Riccardo Tormo, named after the two-time world motorcycle champion. And we regularly visit the circuit Riccardo Tormo here in Valencia with the Ferrari Challenge. In fact, it was a couple of years ago we were here launching the season. And here are the drivers that we will see out there on track, including Oscar Rinciovic, Tibor Valent, John Dillon, Fabrizio Fontana, Cristiano Marchel, von Skeltermar, Willem van der Vorm, who looked really good in the Czech Republic when last we were out, NM, and also Manuela Gosner. Those are the drivers that we will be seeing. They've got 30 minutes to qualify and set the best possible lap time they can. And it will give them their best possible grid starting position. Here is Fabrizio Fontana then, who was missing from our round in the Czech Republic. And he is back, though, with a vengeance and ready to go out there on track. Fabrizio Fontana, the winner of our previous Ferrari Challenge season. He was driving a 488, though, has made the migration into this wonderful 296 Challenge car and has taken to it like the proverbial duck too. And there you can see NM being followed by John Dillon. NM then driving the Rosso Corsa car number 187. The shark's teeth of von Skeltermar, the shark's teeth accompany him everywhere. On his crash helmet, on the front of his car and on his luggage as well. And it makes Fons one of the most photographed Ferrari Challenge drivers out there. And do not bet against the 177 car doing very well in qualifying today. Here is NM. And it's high time that I introduced you to a special guest that's alongside us here for our broadcast with our challenge qualifying in Copa-Shell. Charming young man that comes from the world of esports racing, and Ferrari big in esports racing. Introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Hi everyone, this is Ismael Fassi, F1 esports driver for Ferrari. And well, here I am, commentating the qualifying session. Just enjoying this weekend here for the Ferrari Challenge.
I deliberately got you to introduce yourself, and that way I haven't made a complete nightmare of getting your name right, because I was really concerned I was going to get that badly wrong. But you're resident very close to Valencia here, aren't you?
I live just 50 minutes away from here.
Yep.
The city is called Gandia, which a lot of people comes in summer. So yeah, it's a very beautiful place where I live, basically.
Ferrari esports, it's a brilliant concept and it works really, really well. And you are very successful. Tell me.
Well, Ferrari has been a dream of mine since being a child. I joined just a month ago. The day of my birthday, it was announced, so it was really special for me to, just live this moment. I can happily say that 2025, this year so far, I believe it's the best year of my life, even though I'm just 19. So, yeah.
It's irritating when I meet someone talented, so young, and, I watched you on, we have I might not use the right expressions. We have a simulator rig in our hospitality here, which is, the hospitality is lavish, the simulator rig. I watched you at work yesterday, and it's like watching a absolute professional, and you're just so cool, calm, collected. You just get into the seat and poof, you deliver.
I mean, I've been doing this for 4.5 years now. Professionally, just 2, when I joined the F1 Esports Grade, which was 2023.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I do this for literally every day, and for me, it's something very common, let's say, because it's what I do. It's my job. So
yes. And okay, we have seen, and in fairness, the last qualifying session that we had on the air just a few moments ago before you came and joined us, which was Trofeo Pirelli qualifying. The man that set pole position was Yasin Ferrati, who I first met, that Trofeo Pirelli Ferrari Challenge driver, when he was an esports racer. So the whole world of motor racing is changing, where once for you to be a successful racing driver, you'd have had to do karting, then go into junior single-seaters, then go into more expensive single-seaters, then yet more expensive single-seaters, and so that would go on and on and on. Whereas now, with the advent of esports and how really good it is, it's a different route for young talents like yourself to potentially make a career in motor racing, isn't it?
I really believe that there are a lot of talents that they just do sim racing because they just couldn't compete in real life. I mean, there's nothing you can do. If you're not born rich, I guess you will have to stick with it. It's not a big problem anyways. As you say, now we've got sim racing, we've got many simulators to play with. But yeah, nothing else.
Great to talk to you. We'll talk some more during this qualifying session as we watch NM now, who's put it on pole position with a 1:34.609. Now, we saw in our Trofeo Pirelli qualifying session times into the potentially into the 1:32s and 1:31s even, so more time to come. 24.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. It's NM from John Dillon from Oscar Rinčević, who is P3. Then it's Fabrizio Fontana, Manuel Agostino, Willem van der Voort. Still times to come from the likes of Tibor Valent, Cristiano Marchel and von Skeltmar. Now this is Manuel Agostino. 2 purple sectors, then Sector 1 and Sector 2. Going into the final turn, turn 14 now. Keep it neat, tidy. The Ineco Rapata Corsa Ram team watch on as Manuela now accelerates towards the timing line. Is this going to be a new P1 as she crosses the timing line? Yes, it is. It's a 1:33.904, taking a full 7/10 out of NM. And John Dillon relegated now to P3. So, Manuel Agostino then, who we can see in profile there, goes quickest in the Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell qualifying, which we are watching right now. 23.5 minutes, or 23 3/4 minutes remaining in this. And let's go on board with Fabrizio Fontana. This is a great onboard shot then, as the car accelerates right now. The 169 car, now there, you can see Fabrizio Fontana with the red has been given a track limits warning, which means this lap is ruined. Whatever he achieves in this lap, it's going to count for nothing. So Fabrizio Fontana is going to have to go and do it all over again. Now, something, Ismail, that we were talking about during our qualifying sessions here, and it's really, really prevalent here in Valencia, is because the track temperature is so hot, the air temperature is so hot, the tyres that our drivers qualify on are the tyres that they will be using in the race today. So it's a risk-reward situation for some drivers who will post the best lap that they possibly can, but also they want to keep their tyres as fresh as possible for the race as well, so do the minimum number of laps. How do you replicate that kind of feeling in esports racing? I mean, I know you get lots and lots of feedback from the controls that you have, but do you still feel things like, and please explain to me because I'm an idiot, do you still feel things like tyre degradation and damage and stuff like that? Is that replicated through what you feel?
We usually get the degradation after a few laps. And it depends on the game. Some games have less, some games have more. So let's say after 5 laps, every track, you start losing the grip. You notice it, the lap times are slower. And we do, yes, we feel that degradation. And that's something that actually I focus on a lot when I get the degradation on when I basically train, when I practice. Because I like to build setups for basically when the car starts to be loose in the rear. Don't want to get those pretty fast laps at the beginning and then be slow at the end. Just a balanced one, especially if better at the end. Well, I will be happier. So yeah.
Oh, very interesting. So I'm learning a lot from you. These drivers then, as you can see, Cristiano Marchel and purple sector through sector 1, personal best through sector 2. This could be another very good time from Cristiano Marchel as he goes from P7 to P2, not quite making P1, but up to P2. So it's now Manuel Agostino, Cristiano Marchel, Willem van der Voort, Oscar Rinčević, and Here is Cristiano Marchel then in profile, having just delivered a P2. We've got about 20 minutes of this qualifying session remaining, and the 171 driver then having just put it P2. Oscar Rinčević, though, has just gone P2. Manuela Gostner has decided to come into the pit lane. Is she parking the car and preserving the tyres? I would suggest so. Willem van der Vorm, personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Here comes Willem van der Vorm then heading towards the timing beam. He breaks that and improves one place up to P3. So it's Manuela Gostner from Oscar Rinčević. Then it is Willem van der Vorm, Cristiano Marchel. So as I said, Manuela Gostner coming into the pit lane now and switches the car off, and I suspect what she will do is park in the pit lane now and just wait to see if anyone gets close to her time of 1:33.406. At the moment, the nearest is within 6/10. And if anyone gets close, she will come out and respond, but at the moment, holding it all together. So 20 minutes remaining in this qualifying session with Cristiano Marchel for FBO Motorsports. Trying to improve from his P4 position. So a lot of movement within the 9 drivers in the Ferrari Challenge qualifying for Copa Shell, although we've not yet seen a time from Fons Skelterman. So Ismail, is Valencia circuit a circuit that you would profess to be one of your favourites, being a local track for you? Is this one that you race regularly in esports? I wouldn't have, because we know that Formula One tests here, and it sees a lot of international and certainly bike racing as well. Ferrari Challenge comes here a lot, but is the Valencia circuit one that's very familiar to you?
I like it in general. I prefer it for MotoGP instead of Formula One because we don't have Formula One here.
No.
But yeah, it's a track that I enjoy with my friends. I play quite a lot around here. If I had to choose one in Spain, I would say the old Valencia track, Formula One, the one that
in the harbour.
Yeah,
wow.
The one that we don't have it anymore. But for me, I really like that track. The last winner was Fernando Alonso, who is my idol. Spanish.
He's not a bad guy either, is he? Yeah. And of course, we're talking about Spain, we're talking about Spanish tracks, we're talking about Spanish drivers. Miguel Molina is another one who is supreme. Another one I want to talk about is Marc Genet, and Marc Genet has got this massive fan club in Spain, hasn't he?
Well, a month ago when I went to Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix in Formula One, I took a picture with him.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes, a lot of people know him, especially, he's Spanish first of all, and also he was in the team with Fernando when Alonso was still in Ferrari. So, yeah.
The development of Madrid coming, of course, that's something very much to look forward to. And it really reinforces motorsport in Spain, doesn't it? Very, very exciting, this whole Madrid concept, isn't it?
Well, didn't see the track, like the real one. We've just seen some virtual laps.
Yes.
We don't know yet how it will be. Hopefully it will be a good track. Seems like it has some corners that are similar to the last one from Zandvoort. Has the inclination a bit in one of them.
So a bit of banking.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Has also many chicanes, if I'm not mistaken. We will see. It will be on the calendar next season. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, going to be good. So it's Manuela Gostner, who's P1 at the moment. She's parked the car. Willem van der Vorm has gone P2. Oscar Rinčević, congratulations, Oscar. He was missing from Brno. He was missing from Brno for a good reason. He was getting married. So that's okay. We'll let him off missing the Czech Republic round. Cristiano Marchel P4. Then it's John Dillon at a position P5 at the moment. He too is in the pit lane. Then it is Fabrizio Fontana, NM, Tibor Valent and Fons Skelterman yet with a 1:36.664 as P9. Tibor Valent and NM, I would suggest, is out of position in qualifying as well. So, but there's still 16.5 minutes of this qualifying session to come from our Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell drivers. And as you can see, as we split the camera, NM is about to be released from the pit lane. And the Rosso Corsa driver then will be heading out onto the track. This is Cristiano Marchel, who is third fastest. And in replay, Cristiano Marchel then just controlling a little slide with the back end of the car and a bit of opposite lock, which I have to say, and you'll be really impressed by this, Ismail, when I was a racing driver, don't laugh, because I did.
I'm not.
Did race a little bit. I am proud of the fact that I can drive as fast sideways as I can in a straight line, but of course driving sideways isn't a good way, is it? It's not the quickest way.
Definitely not. You want the steering wheel to be, you know, straight.
Okay, that's why you're where you are and why I am where I am, friend. And that's probably the way it's going to stay, isn't it? You know, you're young and you're talented. Willem van der Vorm here. Halfway through this session now. As I mentioned at the start of this qualifying session, these drivers are also contending with the knowledge that they have got to qualify in these tyres. They've got to race on these tyres as well. And the race, 30 minutes plus 1 lap to come when the heat will be at its peak later on. And they've got to think about tyre longevity. But the Scuderia Monte Carlo driver, Willem van der Vorm, is second fastest. And he has posted a time of 1:33.766. 1:33.766. Just under, or just over 3.5 tenths slower than Manuel Agostino, who remains P1 and remains parked in the pit lane. So if you take a look at the laps that drivers have done, Manuel Agostino has been quite clever here, having done just 5 laps and has parked the car. So that means 5 laps worth of rubber having been taken out of the tyres. The next two, Willem van der Vorm and Cristiano Marchel, they've done 3 laps more each. They've done 8 laps. This is von Skeltemaar. And von Skeltemaar has improved. He's gone up to P7. But then the back end of the car stepped out, and von Skeltemaar had to control it beautifully by sliding, but that's certainly not the quickest way round here. So von Skeltemaar will go again. He's at the final turn right now. This is turn 14, which is a turn that's really difficult to get right because it's so easy to be drawn to the outside of that turn and then go over the track limits. And if you do that, you get a penalty by having your lap time deleted. Now, when it comes to the race itself, any track limits infractions will encourage a warning. You get 3 warnings. Once you got 3rd warning, when it comes to the 4th one, you're going to get a time penalty. So keeping it within the white lines, Ismail, is part of racecraft, isn't it?
It surely is, but of course, because of how the dedication we've got, the hours we put in the simulator, we are, let's say, every time on the limit. We are not self-conscious, I would say, that we are always on the limit of getting a track limit or, I don't know, using the car, whatever related to basically driving.
When is the next competition for you in real terms?
Well, there's a competition actually called the Ferrari HP Series, which is a virtual challenge with the Ferrari 296 GT3, and you can join if you want. And if you win, you can join Ferrari.
So that's got to be your ambition, hasn't it?
I mean, I'm already in the team, so.
Yeah, but you know, is this? I mean, do you see this as a? You seem to me like a very grounded young man. Is it a dream come true just to be part of this extraordinary brand? The Prancing Horse is just something else, isn't it?
Well, if you ask my friends, my family,
yes,
even my childhood friends,
yes,
and you tell them what was Ismail's dream when I was a kid, they will always tell you to be part of Ferrari. I was every time talking about cars, the red car, the guy sitting in that car, which was Alonso back then.
Yes.
So for me, Alonso is my idol. So having him on a Ferrari was even more like a plus. Like I want to be like him and also in the team. So yeah, it really is a dream. Hopefully I can maintain myself here for a long time and just enjoy these years, these moments, the competitions I have with them and everything related to Ferrari.
Is the competition really stiff? Is it really, really tough in the competition that you compete in?
Oh, it really is. From the, let's say, the guy in P1 to P20, I would say there's a gap of 2.5 tenths, 3.
You are joking.
So obviously there's no perfect laps in qualifying. Always everyone does a mistake. So it's not easy, obviously, but for example, you may have a quali around the track, finish P20, and then on the next one finish in the top 5.
Wow.
It's not something very, let's say, that would have you amazed, because it could happen. It has happened already. So yeah, it's very tough, very tight. Also depends on the track. If you put me in Austria, it will be a lot more. I would say maybe just a tenth between the first guy and the 10th guy, the 10th lap time.
Wow. And I assume young ladies racing as well?
I think so, yes. They do. They do. Well, we've got Manuela here in real life as well,
Manuela is an enigma. She is brilliant. And, of course, her sister Corinna races as well. And talking of girls, I've got to ask about this. You spend all your life esports. Is there time for a girlfriend?
Well, that's a really good question, mate.
Am I going to get told off for this?
I'm going to be fair with you. I always have in mind what I'm doing.
Yes.
I just don't want to lose the focus on this. I just want to do well on what I always wanted. So, I mean, if it happens, then. But you will have priorities, okay?
You see what I'm saying about you're so grounded. It's really lovely to chat to you and really delighted that you're joining us on the air here. We've got 9.5 minutes remaining. Now, Manuela Gosselaar, not only is she so confident in the lap time that she has delivered and has parked the car, she's on the pit wall. And Willem van der Vorm is also confident in what he has delivered. We have got merely one car out on track, 2 cars out on track, Fabrizio Fontana and NM. Let's stay on board with Fabrizio Fontana right now, the Formula Racing driver, as he accelerates away down through the gears. Now you can see here the Fabrizio Fontana car. You saw just as we were inside the car there, you have a rear view screen, and the reason you have a rear view screen on the dashboard is because there's a big safety bulkhead in these 296 Challenge cars. There's his driver coach, Stefano Guy. And the big safety bulkhead means that you can't have a rear view mirror inside the car, and there are cameras at the back of the car which actually give you a far better view of everything that is behind you. And Fabrizio Fontana, he's struggling to really put a lap together that is troubling the top drivers at the moment. Ismail, being out on his own now with the track completely to himself, is that going to be helpful?
Well, first of all, it's hot, which
yes.
It's not good. The grip won't be there, but he's alone, so maybe the track temperature goes a bit low. So I really don't know what to say. I would say it's just not the same, obviously, but I'm sure he can improve. But now the tires are a bit used, though, so...
Well, let's see what he does. Stefano Guy is looking at all the data, and you can see, as we split the screen here, the information that Stefano Guy has from the onboard shot that he has directly into the garage, and that's what a driver coach can do. He can look at all the data, he can analyze almost every input that Fabrizio Fontana makes in the car, and the driver coach is able to say, well, you're losing a tenth here through this turn. You need to kiss the apex a bit better here, because you will gain a 100th there. You know, driver coaches are so clinical, and they can look at everything and be able to pass on that advice to drivers. Now, really young, talented drivers like you take that all on board yourself, and you know where you've got to improve.
Well, for us, I would say it's a bit different, as it's a simulator. It's not real life, though. But so, like I mentioned before, the gaps are so tight, which means there's basically not one quick line, but everyone takes pretty much the same line for every corner. And if we are losing maybe thousands of a second, it's because of the braking or the acceleration, not because of the line.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a bit different for us.
But it's something that you have to embrace and you have to improve upon, and that's why you do so much practice and you really work at what you do.
I mean, we have the telemetry for that.
Of course.
So that's where we can learn from the quick people, basically the fast guys.
It's all very well having the telemetry, but if you don't learn from it, it's a bit like, I mean, in a different scenario here, and I talk to racing drivers like Fabrizio Fontana, who's coached by Stefano Guy, professional racing driver who's been a multi-champion in Ferrari. And I talked to a driver coach, and I said, what is it that you look for in your driver to improve? And he said, driver has got to be like a sponge, got to absorb all the information I give, because unless you take the information or the telemetry or everything that you've got on board and you learn from that, there's no improvement, is there?
Well, for me, I think it works different. I'm a bit.
You would disagree with me, wouldn't you? I'm beginning to dislike you already.
Maybe I'm sometimes a bit selfish. So
Okay.
when they tell me you have to do this through whatever corner it is,
Yep.
I tell them no. This is the right line, the right braking, the brake bias, whatever. But obviously, it's good to take the advices from the professional people. From us, the esports drivers, it's more about getting advices from the telemetry, not from a professional guy.
Yep.
But then when you try it or you see it, it's like there's no major difference. We are talking about maybe 20,000, 30,000 of a second, which is nothing. And yeah, we basically do the same. But then we rage after the quali. We say, why you didn't say this to me? Or, this kind of stuff.
Do you consider yourself, and do you think it's a necessary character trait to be successful, that you've got to be a bit stubborn and perhaps even arguably a bit arrogant?
With the people, no, obviously. But when you are on track,
Yeah.
I think myself, I think that I know how to differentiate between being on the track, off the track. Off the track, I'm always a chill guy that never wants problems with anyone. Then on the track, I kind of change my way. I'm a bit maybe more aggressive.
Yes.
Always respecting the rules. I never want to crash into somebody or, make any problems to myself. So I think yes, you have to be a bit arrogant or just try to. It's about psychological things with your rivals. It's more about wanting to let them know that you are a bit better.
Yes, of course. It's mind games, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Really enjoyed having you with us here. As we continue to watch Von Skeltermar and Fabrizio Fontana, they're kind of trading this P7, P8 place at the moment, as you can see. Or you could see on the graphics as we look at the profile of Von Skeltermar right now, the number 177 driver. He's pushing really hard and pushing so hard that he had to adopt the opposite lock then to control the slide going into that turn. I mean, Fons has done a lot of laps out there. Fabrizio Fontana has done 14, Fons has done 10. Compare that to the likes of Manuel Agostina, who's done 5 and parked the car. Very good strategy, I would suggest, from Manuel Agostina. And Fons continuing to try and improve, just for whatever reason, not getting it all hooked up perfectly here. And Fabrizio Fontana the same. So the order is Manuel Agostina from Willem van der Vorm, then it's Cristiano Marchel, Oscar Rinčević is P4, then it's John Dillon, NM, Fabrizio Fontana from Skeltermar, Tibor Valint. So there is Cristiano Marchel inside, and whilst the session continues, and there is still 2 minutes remaining of this qualifying session, I don't think anyone is on an improvement trajectory, and what hasn't helped Fabrizio Fontana is 4 track limits, so that's 4 laps that have been deleted of the 14 laps that he has done. And we ride on board there coming into the pit lane, and the qualifying session, as near as makes no difference really, is completed, because it's only Von Skeltermar and Fabrizio Fontana that will the last drivers out there on track, with about 1 minute and 3/4 left. And as you can see, Fabrizio Fontana has brought the car back into the pit lane. Stefano Guy dives in to the passenger side of the wonderful 296 Challenge car to offer some words of advice to Fabrizio Fontana. With only 1.5 minutes remaining, there's no way he's going to be going out again. Von Skeltermar continues and is going to go. You can see that Fons is trying to wring everything out of this car in the hope of being able to improve on what is at the moment a row 4 starting position for Fons Skelterma. It's P8. Sector times will run, and the sector times are not looking, well, certainly sector 1 is not breathtaking from Fons Skelterma as he accelerates the 296 challenge uphill right now. The Shark's Teeth are front, that 20 seconds remaining. Now, Fons may just cross the timing line with enough time to go again, maybe not actually now, with only 10 seconds remaining. He's into the final turn now. And there you can see Manuela Gosner as we split the screen. This is the last opportunity for anyone to take away Manuela Gosner's position. Fons has bailed the lap. The qualifying is done and dusted. Our pole position driver is Manuela Gosner from Willem van der Vorm and Cristiano Marchel. So we listen to Fabrizio Fontana and Stefano Guy just discussing the rights and wrongs of that qualifying session, and we'll bring you the classification in just a moment or so. Great to see some spectators here with the brollies up to protect themselves from the sunshine, and there is Manu Gosner then, who has not only put it on pole position, perfect starting place, but has gained an additional point for P1 as well, as Fabrizio Fontana then. Oh, and there's one of our TV directors, Beppe, to the left-hand side of the screen there, about to shoot, in television terms, with Manuela Gosner, having got that pole position. Cristiano Marchel having to satisfy and be satisfied with P3. And there you can see why Beppe was there. I have to say, Ismail, it's been an absolute privilege to have you alongside me on the air here. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as you enjoy your sim racing. I suspect not. I suspect that still remains the #1, but I hope you've enjoyed being on the air, and that, given that you're here all weekend, maybe we'll hear some more from you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to commentate qualifying with you, to have a chat, to see how Ferrari Challenge works. And you know what? Yesterday I wished luck to Manu. That's why she got pole.
Okay, so Manu, we know why you did it. It was all down to my friend here. So well done to Manu Gosner then, a 1:33.406, a full 3.5 tenths quicker than anybody else. Here comes the classification then. It's Manu Gosner P1 ahead of Willem van der Vorm and Cristiano Marchel. The results by Faye indicate Oscar Rinjovic P4 and John Dillon P5 ahead of NM, and Fabrizio Fontana and Fons Skelterma ahead of Tibor Valent. Qualifying is done. Now it's the real deal. It's down to the racing to come this afternoon. 3 great races to come from the Ferrari Challenge. But from us here right now in our TV studio, thank you for watching qualifying. We'll see you for the races this afternoon. Goodbye.